Welcome to Mick and the Psychic, where we leave no stone unturned as we explore all things outside the apparent physical realm.
There is no intent to teach or make you believe or disbelieve anything. It is just a safe space to listen and explore with us.
So for this next episode, you have permission to open your heart and mind as you join myself and Xavier on this deep dive into the unknown.
When you've been through trauma and that trauma keeps replaying in your mind, it's attached to an emotion. Behind the eyes, it's got these optical nerves. Break that state to associate the emotion, but I can feel the pain through the eyes and move out that energy.
Today we have on the show Mel Ngo. She's a psychotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, emotional intelligence and motivational coach. She owns a crystal shop and bioenergy therapist, which I haven't heard of before. So this is going to be fun. And she says her purpose in life is to help individuals connect back with their authentic selves by educating and giving tools to help people feel safe and grounded in their physical bodies, enjoying this experience of life. And Mel, welcome to the show. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Hey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Wow, yeah.
So, beautiful energy.
Oh, thank you.
Like there's so much lovely energy happening.
Good. Well, I hope you would know. You'd be able to tell that. So that's good. So, can you remind me again? What was that? What was the term of it? Was it an energy biotherapist?
Bioenergy.
Bioenergy. I said it backwards.
Yeah.
That's like fascinating because we don't even know what that means. So we'd love to hear all about that. But I'd love to start with, maybe you can tell us a bit about what, like, it's like I think we sort of get a calling of some kind at some stage about wanting to help people. So I would love to know, what was your sign, or I feel like there's a story behind why you decided to start helping people just be happier, healthier. What leads you on this path?
Ever since I can remember, I've always loved helping people, whether it be like friends, strangers, it doesn't matter. Whoever needed help, I'll be the first one to go, hey, what do you need? I'll help you. Any way I can, whether it be cooking for them or just driving them somewhere. Over time, I learned that you can only help people as far as they're kind of ready to go. And also, it's sometimes quite tough to help people when they can't see where you're coming from. So I got myself into a lot of trouble when I was younger because I would know things.
Oh, okay.
And understand things before that other person would. And sometimes it would be like, who's told you? Like, who's been talking about me? And I'm like, no one's really told me anything.
Wow.
And it was later on, because I loved going to tarot readers and psychics and clairvoyants just to get, that was my counseling when I was younger. And all of them kept saying, Mel, you're clairvoyant, psychic, medium. And I'm like, what does this all mean? What are you guys talking about? And they're like, you're able to actually tune into other people's guides or receive messages and get downloads of information through their energy fields and relay that back to them to help them. However, sometimes you need to learn to be less emotional and deliver it in a way where you've got to be patient and execute it when they're ready, not just because you know it and then just blurt everything out to them.
Makes sense. We wouldn't get received well, and yeah.
So I wanted to stop getting myself into a lot of trouble, so I delved into learning more about what all these gifts are that people kept telling me that I have. And when my parents passed away probably like 13 years ago, I had a massive pause. It would have been around 2014, end of 2013. I had a massive pause in life, and I got to delve into finding more about myself and what trauma is, because I went to a lot of the mainstream psychologists and, just told you should be doing this, this, and this. And it didn't work because the panic attacks were still happening, the anxiety attacks were still happening, all these things were happening, and my head was it just felt like it would it wanted to explode all the time when I received more information. And it wasn't until one of my lovely customers, I used to own a cake shop, and he was like, Mel, you need, like, I see what's in you because I've been through it too. You're under an immense amount of stress and trauma. You need to go see like a body worker. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's this chiropractors that work with energy. It's called Network Chiro. The first session I had with this Network Chiro, I cried for 14 hours straight. I'm not saying everyone would be like that.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
They're not. Like,
Amazing.
a lot of people that I know aren't like that, but my personal experience, I finally got to release emotions that I had suppressed for like probably like 15 years.
Wow.
And, you know, at that time I had suicidal thoughts, but at that time I had 2 little kids. They were babies at that time, and I was
Wow.
under a lot of pressure. And after going to this Network Chiro, I felt calmer. My head, I could think more positively in my head, and I could actually start to pick my life up again. It was insane. And that was the beginning of my journey on learning about emotions and how emotions are energy in motion through your body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
hold it because they helped you release it. And so you would have, like, how fascinating when you've been learning all these techniques, but then for you, this is what worked. Like, so yeah, so many people could be going round and round in circles wondering why all the mainstream things aren't work, but it could work for lots of
It does
people,
give you really
but not for
helpful
everybody.
information, the mainstream.
Mm.
Yeah.
But including body work in that is also important. So the therapy that I do, what I learned is the psychotherapy and the clinical hypnotherapy. I use words to help calm an individual's body down.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's places that are locked, I would target some words and just watch the body move. And so it's educating the mind to connect into the body. And generally I'll ask clients to see another body worker, whether it be like a Network Chiro or acupuncturist, or get some massage just to really keep that relaxed. Yeah.
So when you're using words, I'm presuming then you're not talking to the person consciously, you're talking subconsciously to access their body parts. You're putting words out at the machine and seeing what the machine responds with rather than the person. Is that right?
I'm using words with intent.
Okay.
And so, you know, our subconscious, it runs like 96% of all the information that we have behind us, and we're not trusting that subconscious. So what I do in sessions is I bypass the mind and go straight into the body using words to distract.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 And then in doing that, are you looking at where the body physically is storing emotions? Is that where the physical side comes in?
You can see when you're speaking to someone where they're quite tense and they're locked.
Uh-huh.
And intuitively, I can actually feel the areas that they're locked. Yeah.
Yeah, because then they might not feel it themselves. If you ask them, where do you feel? Like sometimes I've heard people, you know, say, where do you feel the pain or the emotion or the, like, is it tension? Is it or sorrow? Like, what is it and where? And they might not know. So if you're not physically seeing it yourself, you can intuitively help them along, and so they can learn to recognize it. Is that right?
Yeah, and then they start learning about how they function, how they respond to emotions, and yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you talked a lot before about education, not talked a lot, but I saw you had kind of, as you were giving me information for the bio, a real focus on educating people and giving them tools. I thought it was just like kind of schooling them on emotions and things, but you're educating them on how their body is responding to things. And is that looking at triggers and how to interpret their own bodies? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an individual basis, because we've all been brought up differently with different cultures, you know, different lifestyles. And when you can help an individual understand themselves and how they behave to certain situations or react to certain situations, it gives them that tool to, okay, so I'm not going to listen to what everyone else tells me I should be behaving like. I actually should sit there and, oh, how do I feel about that? How does that make me feel?
Mm-hmm.
And just give them that space to connect into self again.
So for people listening, why, in your opinion, why would it be important to know where they're feeling these emotions and what the feeling is? Like, why should they connect it to where in their body? What does that knowledge do for them?
The mind goes less noisy.
Mm-hmm.
You try to rationalize a situation and you just keep going back and forth and around in circles. It's because there's a part of the physical body that's actually locked and tense through the nervous system, and so the receptors going up to the brain, they're not firing off nice information. It's just all over the place because of the blockages. So intuitively, I can feel where they're locked, get their awareness to go straight into that area, and they're like, oh, I didn't even know that was locked there. But you can see their whole physical body just start unlocking, and then they're like, oh, it's because of this, Mel, blah, 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 and they tell me exactly how they feel. A lot of the times, clients, when they come, they're so overwhelmed that they can't get the words out.
Mm-hmm.
So we just work on relaxing their body and just making them feel safe and feel like it's okay to speak their truth. As soon as the body starts to relax, there's an abundance of information that comes out that if they're in a different environment where they're just pressured, like, just tell me how you feel, what's wrong, what's happening, it's too overwhelming, and they go locked it further.
Yeah.
And it doesn't resolve anything for the individual.
There you go. Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting. So I know kinesiologists use the body a lot to get to test things as well. You know, a lot of the Vedics teachings are around the chakra points, and that the body's very well interconnected, and how you hold your body is how certain processes can happen even during meditation and stuff. It's easy to believe that the body is just a functioning machine. Like, you look at biomechanics and see its role, and you see the, you know, neural patterns, and that's just to send information to the brain. Do you think there's more to the body than just that, the connection to certain emotions with the body than just that? Or is it just the mind's interpretation of a feeling somewhere in the body?
My personal belief comes through feeling a sensation outside the body through our bioenergy field.
Oh, wow. So it's not even the body. Your body's just a receptor to something else outside. Okay.
So
yeah.
Have you ever experienced seeing someone from a distance? You know, visually you can see they're upset and they're sad, but you sometimes actually feel that.
Yes.
But they're at a distance.
Yes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're really empathetic,
mm-hmm.
you will carry that with you.
Yeah, so I know, like I've explained, like I sort of would think of it as an aura. So you're saying it's like the bio, all right? So because sometimes, you can different names, same, different.
Yeah,
depends on what you're interested in. That's what you're. So yeah, you can walk past somebody, they're kind of like in your vicinity, and you can have an energy shift, like mood swing. And it's like, where did that energy come from? It's not even mine. What, like mixing with somebody else's, what did you call it again? Did I just break?
That's okay. You got it out. You just did it in a really weird way.
Mel
and I were still with you. We're good.
You're like, what is she saying?
No, you're spot on. That's exactly how I explain it to people. And having awareness of yourself, you can tell if you've picked up someone else's feeling and carried it on with yourself, or if it's yours. And that's where I feel like a lot of us, we get confused because we take on other people's feelings, confusing ourselves that it's ours.
Right.
And sometimes when you've got a problem, it's really difficult to make sense and analyze it because it has something to do with you.
So how
Mm.
could somebody recognize that it's not theirs, and then what do they do? If you got like a little technique or tip you could give the listeners or viewers, like, is there something that they could do for themselves to release something that's not theirs?
Confusion is usually the first alert. So if you're feeling like, hang on a minute, what's just happened here? Just give yourself a moment, sit with it, allow those breaths to come to really relax the body and let that breath come through, and just 30 seconds of sitting with it
Mm-hmm.
and just see what comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Does make a lot of sense, because certain moments can be really confusing. That should be a sign that there's something off here and you've got to stop to work it out if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just losing your mind or something. There could be a bit more to it.
Yeah.
You can see that with certain toxic relationships as well, even if it's not that they're being manipulated in a relationship, but even just the energy of a person, and someone stays with them for a long time, and when they're finally able to move on from the relationship, you just see just their energy level just changes so much and lifts up. So when you're around someone a long time, do you pick up on each other's energies more so, like when you're in a relationship or live with people?
Absolutely. And how much love you have for a person can sometimes intertwine that energy, and it feels like it really is your own, because you care about that person a lot, that you just want to help them, save them, and just take away that unconsciously.
Oh goodness, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And trauma
Mm.
trauma energy is very, very confusing energy to be around. So a person that's quite traumatized, if you're around them, it can feel like there's a cyclone or a happening in your head, and it's like, what's happening? What? And that clarity, you've lost that clarity.
Mhm.
That's
How
another
many times have you? Sorry,
that's
just
another sign that you've taken on, like,
someone
an
else's.
emotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how many times you've heard of, like, I know it's happened to me. I get this comment a lot, and I've heard it from so many other people. When you are at a relationship, like what you were saying, someone will say to you, "Oh my gosh, you look so much happier now. Like, you're so much lighter." And you're like, "What do you mean? I used to smile and laugh in photos. Like, I didn't look like I was angry, but it's just like your vibe, it's your energy. You're just so much lighter. Like, it's just, you look amazing. It's so good to see you so happy." And it's like, like it happens to people all the time. So yeah, maybe they're finally releasing because they're not around that space anymore and they're not intertwined, as you're saying. Like, yeah, you can really see that in people. I'm sure everyone's like thinking of people they know where they've said that or it's happened to them.
Yes,
Makes sense. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Goodness.
With trauma, it's interesting you were talking about trauma as well. It's almost like you're making out that trauma is contagious in a way. Is
Mhm.
it? Like, can you pick up other people's trauma if you're around them a lot?
My personal experience, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
You aren't confident in your energy and how clear you are if you're prone to people pleasing, or just um,
Yeah. Mhm.
having people tell you how you are. You're very easily influenced into getting confused with another person's energy field.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you don't, yeah, not independent, don't know yourself as well, you'd be more susceptible to be a follower and do what you're told,
Yes,
and like in a relationship with bosses and just follow the crowd. I'm thinking of people who get influenced and by their peers and do dumb things or something that they might like. Yeah, so that makes sense. I haven't thought about it like that before.
and if it's heavy, like, when you're like how I was telling you both, you've got really beautiful energy. Like, I can feel it from here. I know I'm in safe hands here, but you can feel it if you start to like just really tap into knowing who you are.
Mm.
There's other people's energy. You can feel good energy, and you can feel like authentic, pure energy. And then you can feel, oh, they've been through stuff and that's not resolved.
Yeah.
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 Like that.
Yeah.
We call it a vibe or something. People just, you just know someone's okay for you to be around, or if you're not want to be in the space, it's up. That's a connection that you might feel. So there's a science in that. I like that.
I was thinking as well with energy, and when you're experiencing other people's energy around you, it's really like a lot of people don't have the same kind of gifts or abilities that yourself and Xavier have, in that psychic connection and being able to see in other people. How other people, I think, experience the energy of others is based on a pure comparison of their own energy and then seeing others' energy. So it's almost like the only way they know other people's energy is in a comparison to themselves. So that kind of makes sense in people that are more able to protect their own energy, maybe can pick up on other people's energy more, because there's more of that comparison of, this is how I'm sitting now, and this person, wow, I'm getting a vibe, or there's something happening there. It's because they understand their own energy, then they can compare that to others' energy.
Yeah, and you're spot on. And also, look, if someone's gone through a lot of trauma and it's still unresolved, they can actually mentally feel like their view of the world is it, and that's it, and they can be very confident with that, and they can go out and bring that confidence into the world, but that confidence is not necessarily the truth. But that energy can influence a lot of people because of the way it's come across.
Yes.
And so knowing yourself, you won't be tricked as much.
Yeah, because that is their truth. That
That
is their truth now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like that will change. Hopefully it will change. That will change. And I guess that's the difference, like when you really look down to what is truth. And it's like, well, if everything's temporary, even us. So how much truth is in that? And so the more you recognize that, the more you can see that, okay, this is true for this person now. It doesn't mean this is necessarily true. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. And it's not necessarily your truth.
No.
So you don't necessarily have to listen to that advice. You've got to bring in advice and always ask yourself, okay, but does that suit where I'm going?
Yeah, is that good for me now? Yeah, just if someone's going, like you said, if they're been through trauma and been through a lot, and it could be like a kind of like they've been there, done that, kind of like, it could be even like an arrogance of like, I know it all, like, this is where I am at. They might not want to listen to someone who's all shiny and full of advice and lovey-dovey and stuff, because it's like, ew, like, but it also doesn't mean they're right. It's the way things should be, because it's not their journey, like you're saying. So yeah, they just need to be around maybe someone who's just like a little notch up to help them, not like 10 notches. So is it true about like also adjusting our own energy when we're around people so we don't intimidate? Like, I know, like, sometimes I can be like a big personality, over the top, loving, I'll give people hugs and stuff. But if I have a client come to me who's a bit of an introvert, they have just a different energy, they've got a lot going on, I'm not going to, I automatically or intuitively, I don't know if it's instinctively or just intuitive what it is, but I wouldn't be that big, huge, bubbly personality and scare them away, because they're not going to like that. It's not their truth. Like they're not going to, they'll run away screaming. So I would just lower it so they feel more comfortable.
Yeah, you're matching.
Like being emotional, like, is that being just aware of yourself enough so you can be accommodating and nice and not intentionally scare someone off and just say, well, this is how I am. If you don't like it, bad luck.
Yeah, you're matching their energy, which is brilliant, because they can feel you're building a rapport with them.
Yeah, which is a nice thing to do, I think.
So
like, yeah.
Yeah, because that's when you'll be able to really help them, because they feel that trust. You come down and you've matched their energy, and then over time you help them lift that with your like really high vibe.
Yeah, you might be able to help them get there, but doesn't mean that's right anyway. Like, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do with how people should be. No, you don't all have to be bubbly and bright, and but you might want to help them, help them on the way. But yeah, because I know some people can get a bit like, well, this is just how I am. And so if they don't like it, see you later. But then you might not be just making a circle a whole lot smaller of people that you might be able to help with if you're not matching, so they feel safe.
Yeah, because the person on the other end, like, feelings don't lie. I always say to people, don't listen to words. Always feel what's behind those words. They'll pick up on that arrogance and they'll be like, why would I come back and trust this person again? I'm going to go find someone else.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
does, it can threaten, like we're talking about realities, that can also threaten their reality, which
Yeah.
makes it hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's different to being like, you don't want to change your personality and be different in front of other people. So I'm not saying act like a different person, but yeah, it's just like a politeness. It's like manners to me.
Yeah.
I'm not scaring them off on purpose, just to adjust a little bit and then still be yourself, but like tone it down if you need to, or tone it up if you need to. Because someone who's too bubbly might be just like they don't get, you don't get in my jokes. Like,
Yeah.
the problem.
Ooh, better
It's
change
serious.
that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See, you've got that great awareness of like how your energy is and how your personality is like. So that's why I love getting people to know like who they are, so that when in those situations they'll be able to have that information.
Yes. Yeah, it would help them in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I brought it up, because it's just some people wouldn't have thought of that, I guess. So it's just, this topic is good because it makes you think about, yeah, I can do that, and you can help people. Like maybe that's why some people might be like, I scare some people, like they might think they scare people off or
Yeah.
something. So yeah, the energy is really important.
Yeah, like I can be a very hyper person, but I can be super calm at the same, like in a split second as well. And when you're two extremes, learning about different personalities around you, you've got to really just like, oh, can't do that here. Keep it there.
We love interviewing experts from different fields about all things outside the apparent physical realm.
And the one constant is these phenomena are transmitted through energy.
So we sought out and teamed up with Subtle Energy Science
to bring you, our listeners,
energetic encoded technology you can use on your phone, laptop, computer, or tablet,
turning your device into a powerful personal quantum energy tool. Now, we're not the creators, or are we qualified enough to explain it at all, but there is a mind-blowing number of scientific studies available on their website.
We get to try their range ourselves so we can give an honest review. And until the end of April, we've got 20% off The Mystic with promo code MATP-861.
And I love using the Mystic. I love it more than anything else. And I notice it really helps if you want to open up your heart or tune in to a deeper awareness.
Now back to the show. So you're talking about like maybe helping along or manipulating the energy in the field to help, like, to work on people and help them with their stuff. How do you do? I know. So what happened? The reason we met you is because our beautiful friend Charles was telling us all about you, and that you were helping him with some stuff, and you had like this neck pain, and you did some stuff with your hands. You didn't even touch him, and something cracked and moved, and he was like, "What?" He was fascinated. So I'm like, that's why I'm like really interested in what did you do there and how did that work? Because we're talking about the energy around the body and like, so what's going on there? Are you a magician?
That's what he called me. He's like,
He did.
I'm like, all right. Some people have called me a wizard. Some call me a magician. Let me start from where, when I was working on myself, I learned through my ancestral background that my grandma was a spiritual healer in Vietnam. And where they used to live, there's no electricity, there's no clean water. And to get to their house, you've got to go through this river, and there's like a thin bamboo bridge where you have to walk across, or you have to get there by canoe, like a handmade canoe.
Cool.
And back when the Vietnam War was happening, you know, it was really hard to get help to the hospital from rural areas like that. And my grandma used to be the spiritual healer in that village, and she used to be able to heal broken bones within 2 days with her hand.
Wow. So that's real magician stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Mother didn't believe her.
That's amazing.
He
Can
didn't believe
imagine.
her. He was very skeptical
What is
of
he's
her.
nuts. Did he
Even
pay
though,
for
yeah,
that?
even though there's like living proof of all these people getting better. So they believe, upstairs probably wanted to teach him a lesson to believe her, and he broke his ankle.
Oh, he did pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then she healed it with her hands, which, people in modern day, they probably call it Reiki.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so even then
Yeah,
now you don't do that with Reiki.
but she didn't do Reiki school, and I can't see anyone advertise any Reiki therapists advertising to fix broken bones.
Yeah, I don't think that's so it might be something more intense than Reiki.
So
Yeah.
what did she learn that from any
Someone?
of her ancestors? Do you
Yeah.
know?
I don't know if it was a long line of ancestors, but from what my auntie tells me in America, she says that my grandma just knew she could heal people, and it just started from there. Yeah, and when the Vietnam War was happening, bombs were going left, right, and center.
Yeah.
People were just injured everywhere and like running away from it all. And I feel like she was just called, and she just
Yeah. So some of that's rubbed off on you?
So going back to Charles' story,
Okay.
Yep.
so with the bioenergy therapy that I do, we have different layers. With the aura, you've got different colors through your
Okay.
field. With the bioenergy field, you've got different. You've got like a mental field, you've got an emotional field, and it's all outside of your body. And then you've got this big spiritual field at the end. Intuitively, I can feel the vibration of negative energy. So when I scan with my hands around a person's field, there'll be like static. And when my hands get to meet that static and I move it out, the body starts to unlock.
Cool.
Okay.
The pain starts to like move. And what I learned over time is coming from positive energy, like in science, they say, a positive ion can never override a negative ion. So we're coming from love, and that's the intent. But if they've been through a lot of pain and suffering, which is negative emotion, it just needs a safe place to be released. But we can store information from, past lives, generational, ancestral trauma. It could have happened when you were a little kid and you're a lot older. And if that's not recognized, it sits and floats around our field. So it's hard to feel or even see where it is. So, I've studied to understand more scientifically how to feel that energy and what different fields it's affecting, and it will unlock different parts of the body. I've shortcutted it now because I've had a bit of experience in it. And so for Charles's case, I had gone to see him. He's like, Mel, I've got something. I'm like, come over here. And so when I put my hand just about 10 centimeters away from that pain, I could feel it. It was like, oh, and it was making my hand like, oh, curl up like that. And I'm like, Charles, that's so painful. And as soon as you get the connection, I can release that and make like a space through his field.
Okay.
And his body just relaxes.
So you're throwing it through a hole.
So do you need to know then which layer you're meant to go to, or I guess not, you just feel it when you put your hands there. So you go, oh, this is emotional, or, can you tell whereabouts in the field it is as to what was the cause of it? And does that matter?
So when I feel it, it will tell me a story. It'll be like, okay, this is and this and this has happened, but I've got to filter that information to just give them the knowledge that
so like a psychic download. When you say your hand goes there, you get like a psychic dump of data saying this is what is all going on.
Yeah, if it's a
Yeah.
past life or if it's something like that makes sense.
Glad I can speak freely about this. Yeah, spot on.
Of course. Yeah, it's like this is our main topic of conversation. I'm like,
yeah.
you're doing what we do in different way. You're going to the physical first
Yeah.
and unlocking stuff. Whereas, yeah, like we do past life healing and clearing in different ways. Sometimes it comes up.
I don't get psychic dumps. I don't
You don't
get
get psychic dumps.
You're
Well,
speaking for yourself. Yeah.
might, but it doesn't admit it. But like, yeah, so I'd like when I do it, yeah, past life will come up and I heal it and clear it, just sending it away. And then it might change something in the physical, but you're starting at the physical, like doing a different way around, and then you're getting told what it might be related to. So they can like that's
It
correct.
depends on what the clients so I meet where the client's at. So it can be reversed as well. It just depends on when I meet the individual. So I've always got to tune in to what they need releasing, how it should be done in their way.
Yeah.
And that requires a lot of patience. I had to learn a lot of patience because sometimes you can see it and feel it's like, oh, I'll just grab it here and let them move it. But their body could get into too much shock and it's not ready. So you've got to meet them where, okay, where are you at? And that's where we move it.
Great.
My next question, which is you're leading straight into it, is with the client, do they have to have a certain willingness to let go? Like, could you go up to a stranger at, say, I don't know, some dance party at a, Tiesto dance party or something random?
It was good.
I knew you were there. That's why I threw that in. Could you go up to someone? By the way, was it great? Did you enjoy it?
It was insane. I saw Tiesto when I lived in London about 15 years ago, and that was insane. And so I was glad to. Yeah, it was. The vibe was just so high and happy, and everyone was having fun. And it was great.
So was it Hyper Mel? Did you get Hyper Mel there, or
Hyper Mel
still
came out
Buddha Mel?
On Friday. Mel went to Albert Springs down in Mornington, and then Hyper Mel came
Hyper Mel had a party. Good. Okay, back to it. Sorry. So could you go up to someone, say at a concert, and just go, ooh, like, I know hopefully you weren't working, you were just enjoying the music, but could you just go up to someone and feel their field from behind them and heal them? Or is there a certain willpower that needs to happen from them to be able to, like, I'm sure you could read it, but could you release it?
And should you?
Consciously, if both subconsciouses, if their subconscious is in agreement, it's an invisible language.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know how when you meet people and you don't know sometimes why you've met them, but you're just supposed to meet.
Yeah.
And there's just this transference. In those cases, absolutely. I could be high vibing, walk past someone, and they might have heaps going on, and just make a little pathway, off they go.
Wow.
Yeah, I do it a lot to my friends.
You can do drive-bys.
Pretty much.
Yeah, psychic drive-bys.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Our subconscious already have the answers.
Yeah.
So you'd be sort of tuning into like you said, it's their subconscious or their higher self, I would call it, I guess, like different names.
Yeah.
And you're getting a permission from them, because if you didn't have permission, you wouldn't be able to do it. No. So it's like, this is what light workers or whatever they get called. Like, this is what we do. We do nice little things for people. I know sometimes I throw little balls of energy at people and help them relax and things like that, like to help. The difference is we wouldn't go up to them and go, hey, I just released a whole bunch of shit for you. I'm so cool. Like, you don't do that. That's egotistical and it's not necessary. And that's not why you do it. So like you said, you do it for your friends, but I'm sure you're not going up and saying, hey, by the way, I just did blah, 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 blah. Like, no.
Only in sessions with clients if they want to know that information. But that authenticity of having this knowledge and being able to do this work, I feel like it has to have, personally, my opinion, you've got to have a sacredness around it.
Yeah, that too.
You know, honor what's being brought down to you from upstairs. And upstairs is called a lot of names, so that's why I say upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to, and I think I had this conversation when we had Steve Burgess on as well, who's my mentor, great hypnotherapist. But I think we can be sometimes really clumsy with the use of the word subconscious as well. I think there's the subconscious mind that's like the computer part of the mind, and then there's like maybe the higher self where we can communicate, and you use the subconscious mind to do certain things, to bypass the mind. But then there's the higher self, which maybe is what you're talking about, where you have that pact. Like if you're at that concert and you didn't know if that was meant to happen, then on the higher self level, it's like, hey, I went to this seat because I knew you were the seat behind, just do it. Which isn't a language, but that's kind of already been worked out. And then, yeah. So,
Yeah, spot on.
yeah.
Like coincidences, if you follow coincidences that happen in your life, there's a reason behind it.
Well, then it's not a coincidence. So yeah.
I have another theory on
That's
that.
why I have a thing with words.
I do. I have another theory on that. I think that could be true, that there are no coincidences, or I feel like everything's a coincidence. Absolutely everything's a coincidence, that there is no cause. It's just happening.
And it's an interpretation on the word too, like depending on how you've been brought up and the feeling connected to different words. Everyone has their different perception on certain words.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's got its own weight as well. They've got different words have different weights, depends what it is. I was going to ask, we've kind of gone away and come back. I don't know if I can ask this now, but with the actual connection between that body and the emotional self, do certain emotions get trapped in certain parts of the body? Like, is my right hand, my
storehouse for
bad skateboarding, like memories, and then my left hand is like, I don't know.
Well, the same for everybody. Like
universal.
Are
there certain universal body parts that store certain emotions?
So the chiropractors that I work with, behind the base of the neck, there's something called the occiput.
Okay.
Occiput. Yep.
That's where the belief of past life memories are stored.
What? Really? What?
I had the same reaction.
Physical spot.
Yeah.
People always. So I'm a massage therapist too, and that's like the top spot too. And I didn't actually. How come I wasn't shown this?
Xavier's pissed at the above world now.
Hilarious.
So there's a part of the body where past lives are stored. Really?
So it's called the occiput. That's an area under the brain, like under here.
That bit that gets sore when you get your hair washed at the hairdresser.
Like that area.
Right base of the skull.
Oh, okay, yeah. When your head.
You wouldn't know, Mick.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about
it. So when I work on past life regression, that's the first place my hand goes to. Area.
So does that mean someone who would get lots of tension there, pain or headaches and stuff, does that mean they might have some past life stuff going on?
Yeah, and with past lives, for me, it's been a bit tricky because not everyone has that knowledge that does it exist, doesn't it exist, all that belief.
Yeah.
So when I work with clients therapeutically, they don't need to know. The emotion just needs to leave.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You don't have to tell them the whole story about it. Like you'll get that vibe, and you'll just probably intuitively know if it's something to bring up and tell them what you're doing with that, or
because you can scare people with this information. That's the problem, and that's locking them up further. And if that's what I learned over time, to just base it on emotions, and if they're not open to energy work, you just use the language of emotions as well. Because it's all the same, but it's the intent that you use with the words.
Yes.
It's quite
just like we were talking about before, how you can adjust your energy to people. You do that with your clients. You can tell if you need to go into a bit more the science, the explanations and saying emotions and things, or you would know depending on what they said as well, but also you'd be able to read into, is it okay to talk about the woo-woo stuff with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're adjusting to them so you don't scare them off. So
Yeah. Yeah. Over time, I had to learn to articulate them in different, I call it different language.
Yeah. It's interesting. The path. No, why are we skipping over this? There's a part in the back of your head that's got to do with the past lives. Wow, that's amazing. Why are we skipping over this?
I love that.
What's the purpose of it in the body?
Clients with my fingers, you put it under the back of it, and the weight of their head like
Relax
it. Yeah, so I could be
feel
asking.
it really tense when they're like locked in a past life memory.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you put your hand to the back, it's like, oh. And
that would help. Because
they're fixated on today's emotion of being like fearful or in panic or scared. If it's a past life and they're fixated on something that's happening in today's life, it's really hard to get a resolution.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But if they're open to past lives, you can make huge changes to help them just move forward. I had a personal experience before I became a therapist because I had a lot of past life trauma as a healer. And I didn't know that. I'm like, what is this past life thing? I come from a banking and finance background of 15 years. So I was like, what is this world? And so
that's called a shelf company for you guys. A past life is a shelf company. It's just that, someone else has just picked up a new ABN. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And so when I was just brought, I just went with this energy and I'm like, all right, go to the Mind Body Spirit show. And I was just brought to this stall and she did 15-minute past life regression. And it was the most powerful 15 minutes of my life because it just got rid of every single fear of me coming out to become a therapist, which was background healer. I didn't know, because I try to analyze my life today. Everything's fine. I'm safe. Everything's ready to go. What's your problem, Mel? How come you're just not taking that leap? And it was a feeling. And when we did that past life clearing, I went back to like Ireland where, I told people that angels were real and I got persecuted at 18 and hung and all of that came with me. And I was like, whoa. And I could actually see it all. I'm like, whoa. And the feeling, like I bawled my eyes out for 15 minutes, but it was the best release.
Yeah.
After that, everything flowed with me becoming a therapist that I am today. That was like 6 years ago.
Love that. That's a really common past life from my experience from healing, clearing past lives. So many people that have trouble coming out as a healer and going with the flow and being okay with it and admitting it to people or sharing it with their family or even just announcing that they do that as a job, putting it on their business card. There's so often past lives attached and you wouldn't be interested in the first place. And this if you probably haven't done it before because you're connecting with past versions of yourself. And so of course you hear about all the different things that happen to people that were healers and burned as witches and all this kind of stuff. So it's quite common to have been persecuted sometime in the past. And that's why whatever is your challenge in your life, like that's your lesson usually, is what from my experience. I'm not saying it's definite, but that's if it's your challenge, that's your lesson, something for you to go through. And they're not just ones that for this life, it might be connected to a past life or 10. You might have a whole bunch of them cleared up, a string of similar ones. So that's really common. So it's really cool that you brought that up, that was one for you, because same things happen to me. Like, so many people, happens a lot.
Yeah. And if we're, that's why you guys having a show like this, to be able to freely speak about these type of stories, it helps people feel safer to come out and go, oh, well, yeah, this happened to me. I like hear all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of your journey to where you are now has been really learning for yourself. So, you're talking about always being a helper and then that getting you in trouble as well. A lot of the things, I used to supervise staff. So a lot of the things you're talking about as a helper where you've made the mistake of just trying to fix something for someone or feeling like it's your issue and confusing it and maybe getting too emotionally attached to it and then emotionally attached to whether or not they get better or not, working through all this. And then also, the past life stuff and a whole lot of other things. even how you describe how to, which is a lot of Carl Rogers style stuff, being where someone's at, you know, that's that emotional intelligence coach in you as well, that you've had to learn all of these tools and things yourself to then be able to help other people. It's been quite a journey of going through that. Do you think people need to really help people? They have to go through that journey themselves to really understand what it is to overcome?
I honestly don't think people need to go through it. I feel like people need a safe space for to be heard.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, in the olden days and even now, people used to go to the priest and have their confessions.
Yeah.
It was kind of like squared into just a certain religion. That feeling of, oh, well, this is going to go nowhere and I'm not going to be judged and et cetera, et cetera. Back then, it was more of an authentic, okay, I can release that. We've lost some of that now, unfortunately. But if there was less judgment and just sitting back and just being a real, just an ear to listen.
It's a great tip for all different kinds of therapists. We have 3 different kinds right here on the screen. So there's so many different kinds. So like I said, being that safe space is really important. I know I help people with lots of different things that I've never been through.
Yeah.
But yeah, and something that I always say at the start, there's no judgment here. I always joke and say, no judgment here, I've probably done worse.
Yeah.
So, you know, they would be like.
Yeah, and that makes that rapport, it makes them feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. And that emotional maturity is sexy. Some people put that in their bios, you know, like they're dating apps now.
Yeah. And pain, I feel like if you've ever experienced pain's a feeling. It doesn't matter what story it's connected to. If another person has pain, you can empathize with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting, the body connection with it all. It's almost like the body has become the glue between the emotion and expression, or even to find healing, you need to use the body to go through. Is this something that you found, where a lot of people, like, I'm not saying ignore the body. I don't do anything really with the body. Oh, sometimes. Okay. So sometimes in hypnotherapy, someone will do some clearing and, you know, their leg will just go up in the air. And they're like, I don't know why it's doing that. And I'm like, I don't know either, but it needs to. So let it do it, and it'll be up
So
there
you
for
didn't make them
ages.
do it like a chicken. You did.
No, and it'll come back down, and then they'll go, "Oh, I feel really good. What happened? My leg just went up." I don't know, but it just had to come out physically. So I guess
because through
yeah.
hypnosis, with hypnotherapy, we're calming the nervous system using words, so they're in a really relaxed trance state. And when the body is like, you've bypassed the mind's quiet, the body is relaxed, the body gets to move the way it should be. It's like that the book Waking of the Tiger, Dr. Peter Levine, he talks about trauma, how when a tiger in the jungle is always faced with a lot of trauma, like other animals are attacking it or it's attacking other animals, but when it's always running off in the wild, and it's shaped. The first thing you see animals do is like they do this shape.
That's true. Yeah.
They release that trauma in their body instantly. But humans, like, we're confined to a bedroom, an office, or a car, or, you know, we're confined to these places. And our body, if we did like that, people would think we're possessed or something, like something crazy, or we've got a spasm or something. We're not freely allowed to move our body.
Yeah.
Release that trauma. We're told to just like stay still, you know, just.
Is that why Taylor Swift brought out "Shake It Off"?
Yeah, see, songs like that are great.
The great sage Taylor Swift. Yeah. What about things like twitches? So if someone has like an eye twitch or something that comes up, like, is that somehow connected to an emotion or tics or?
My personal belief, it is. I've worked on quite a numerous amount of autistic kids and
Okay.
ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to know their energy, they're so super fast. Like an autistic kid will know your emotion before you were even aware of it, and they've already got the download.
Hmm.
That's intelligent,
Mm.
but they will, because they're so fast paced, they go into different stories. So, for example, I've got one client that speaks of, he speaks to me like we're on the football field or in a basketball match. It changes depending on his mood and the emotion he's
Mm.
working on. And so he'll be like, yep, over there, yep, left field. And he'll tell me where on his body by using that language.
Wow.
Yeah, where we move out the lockage.
Wow.
So it's just, but society sometimes they think, oh, this kid's crazy, like he's talking about all this weird stuff. But if you just took the time to actually slow down and listen, even though the story's a bit bizarre, but feel,
Mm.
he's trying to tell you how to help him.
Mm.
They're just super fast.
Yeah.
Their energy, it's like ADHD too. The energy levels are just super fast. I don't know what to do with it. And a lot of society, we're confined to not using that beautiful, super fast energy.
No, make them normal again, right? Make them normal. Yeah.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a friend that's very ADHD. He can't help it, but I'm glad he never did anything about it
Yeah.
because it makes him him. And
Yeah.
he's a genius as well, like literally a genius, and does incredible stuff. And maybe if he was made normal, he wouldn't be able to achieve what he's achieved and what he's been able to do.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've got a friend that owns a boxing gym, and
Right.
he said that he always tells me boxing saved my life, Mel. Like, they tell me I'm ADHD, but what does that even mean? And he's opened like these successful boxing gyms, and he was like a Muay Thai champion of Australia, sorry, 3 times.
Wow.
And like that saved him instead of going on other stuff.
Yeah. That's you get the energy out in another way. That's
Yeah.
right.
So some
To
of you
the
are
detriment of people's noses across Australia and the world,
And
probably.
he's helping so many people. Like the
Mm.
amount of people he's helping is insane.
Yeah.
teaching them how to release pressure, stress. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and
And control.
how to move my body. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know my body could move like that in boxing.
Yeah. Well, it's control, isn't it? I mean, it's funny. They talk about these fighting styles, martial arts and boxing, and it's about releasing energy. Part of it's releasing energy. Part of it, a bigger part of it, is actually learning how to control your body and being in control of your body. So it's probably more the other way that levels things up than just releasing energy with punching. It's not just punching, it's that controlling side of things.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. Yeah.
So I was wondering, so somebody did have tics, whether it's Tourette's or just tic syndrome or something like that. Could that be something that you could help them with figuring out where they're holding onto stuff and why it's making the body twitch and move like that you can help them shift it?
Yeah. I've had quite a few clients in that space with tics and stuttering.
Mm.
I've had so I do EMDR, but I do EMDR with energy.
What's
So
the
what's that?
EMDR is an eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy.
Okay.
So when you've been through trauma and that trauma keeps replaying in your mind, he keeps seeing it over and over, and you just can't shake it off. You keep reliving it.
Mm-hmm.
It's attached to an emotion. So behind the eyes, we've got these optical nerves, and when we break that state, disassociate the emotion, it's with an eye movement, so they're following your fingers.
Okay.
But I can feel the pain through the eyes and move out that energy.
Wow.
And then the whole body starts to relax. A lot of people say that they can't remember it at all,
Mm-hmm.
or it becomes like a movie
Mm-hmm.
with information for them, but they're
Yeah.
completely not feeling the emotion attached to it.
Which is great. That means it's done. Like if you can just
Wow.
replay it like it's just a fact rather than having any emotional attachment to it. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had one of my aunties. She called me in a panic, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" So I went straight down to see her, and her eyes were completely black, and her lips were like blue, and I'm like, "What's happening with the auntie? What's going on?" She's like, you know, all these things, and anyway, she actually didn't want to be here anymore.
Mm.
And so and the doctors, she just did a scan, an MRI scan, and the doctors said that she had to have surgery to get her arteries cleaned. So I did 3 rounds of energy work and EMDR on her. After the first round, my uncle, he was sitting on the couch watching me because it was the first time they experienced my work.
Wow. Yeah.
But it was the first time they experienced it. And he was just staring at me, and all of her bags here started to go red, and her lips started to go like a reddy pink color. And he's like, "What did you do?" I go, "Auntie's been
God.
through a lot of trauma, Uncle. She's been through a lot of trauma, and her body is bound up. It hasn't had time to release." And she had just retired, so she was in a moment of her life where she can't move anymore. She's just at a pause. So it was like, everything came at the one time, all the emotions. She's sitting with all these like thoughts and all the grief that she hadn't released from the past.
Yeah.
And so I said, we did 2 more rounds. And I go get your scans. And she didn't have to have the surgery.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love how many people who do this kind of work, not exactly the same as you. I've got my stories too, and other people, and we can share these stories, and these miraculous things happen that you might not be able to prove. Sort of like your grandmother. You just hear the stories, and it's like, well, we can't prove them, but that doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Because
matter.
Yeah.
you just do your job,
Yeah.
help.
It's the experience that tells you the truth. If you ever
Yeah, and it doesn't matter because you don't need to do it and become famous, and you'll have a
No.
line. You don't have
You don't want to be.
people that'll be at your door, but
There's a bad
Yeah.
rap with healers that get famous. They normally get burnt to a stake or something. So don't get famous. It's not good. Didn't work out well for Jesus either. I'm just saying you don't want fame with that.
Yeah.
Have you
Agreed.
have you
Like, I don't advertise my work. It's all been word of mouth because I just didn't want.
We're
Like, I
accidentally
didn't.
advertising a little bit now.
Yeah, sorry. Words out.
Words out, but yeah, it's beautiful, and I love how like I see every time you explain something that you do, you're humble and you like slowly get the words out. You're like, well, I do this, which is beautiful. It's like beautiful seeing you like find the words to explain what you do. We can see the humbleness behind it too. You're not like gloating and being a smartass about it, which is really nice.
Like me.
And Charles was the one that really pushed me to do this. I'm like, Charles, I really don't. He's like, you need to get your message out. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
You're getting told that you need, helping you. You need a kick at the butt sometimes. We do. So.
And Charles is the master connector. This is just what he does. He can't help it. That's just what he does.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. All of that is wonderful, and I concur. With other things as well, there's a lot of physical stuff that goes on that people that medicine hasn't been able to help with, like broken legs. Medicine's done pretty well with, not 2 days like your grandma, but it's done pretty well with. What about things like endometriosis? So it's stuff like with the reproductive organs and that sort of thing. Is that something where there's like emotional stored energy for that sort of thing? Because there's a lot that people don't understand. It's more prevalent now. Nothing really works, and it's got a whole lot to do with pain. Like there's a lot of women suffering from it. Is that something where there's like some sort of maybe emotional thing that can be cleared or worked through?
Honestly, the pattern I see with endometriosis, because I have a huge passion with endometriosis and helping females, because seen them at a point where they lose fallopian tubes and they can't have kids, and they've like in excruciating pain like every month, curled up in a ball for like, you know, sometimes a whole day or 2 days.
Yeah.
The pattern that I've seen, it's if they're open to it, it's a lot of ancestral generational trauma that's been passed down.
On the maternal side? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those that have been open to it, the pain's lessened, things have gotten better. But to try and explain that that's connected to that, yeah, they have to be open-minded, because there's quite a bit of work and healing that is involved in the process.
So it's not as easy as the back of the neck stuff that you can just make it go without explaining it. You actually have to get into it a bit more with this
Well,
one.
it's ancestral. It's not past life. So
Yeah,
it's probably in a
exactly.
different
So
spot.
you can't just make it go. You've got to explain it to them, right?
Because it's more connected into your physical body. So like, you know, work with strengthening up your mind, which is what like I help clients with, but also continuing with the body work with other practitioners. And a lot of people, one, they can't afford it, going back and forth to all of us. Two, just the understanding of, okay, once they go to a body worker, all this emotion gets released, being able to manage that by themselves is overwhelming, can affect, you know, their day at work. And that's how come it's really sad that, like, I pray people can just really just find that strength, because it's not a long process, but you've got to put the work, just like being an athlete. Like if you want to be a really good athlete, you want to get your body healthy and fit,
There's no easy way.
you've got to train it. There's no easy way. You've got to have the mental strength, but also the physical like endurance to get that goal.
Yeah, and the same with healing. It's hard, it's messy, and you've got to be willing to do it. And that's what a lot of people over it, maybe turn to unhealthy habits to deal with it, so they don't have to go through and feel it, because they don't want to feel it.
And that's why I love teaching people about emotions and getting them to mentally really strengthen that they're just waves. And if you can be really present with it, no matter how hard, and this is when patients come in, people are always like, I hate patients. I'm like, I know, but we really need to get over this one. Make you feel really good after. And every time they have just had really a lot of patience with themselves to just move past that wave of an emotion, and the body finally starts to just really relax. It's like, okay, now I get where you're coming from. When they get that taste of, it's beneficial for them and they feel lighter.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that healing. So if it's, I'm going out there now, but if it's ancestral, as far as the way to heal it, to go through ancestral, can that then stop a process of that passing, maybe not passing down if the person can't have kids, but at least on like even the women's side of the family as well, like protecting others as well? If it's an emotional thing, ancestral, can one person heal it for another part of the family?
That's why I worked on myself so hard, and I still work on myself. Like even prior to filming, meeting with you guys, I had to really, there it goes. I had to really work on clearing the trauma that I have with speaking.
Right.
Like I don't usually speak this clearly in this type of environment. I'm like closed doors, one-on-one clients, that's it. But I've been pulled to work with one-to-many now. And I have to go through whatever trauma or fear that comes in my path. Straight away, I'm on it. I'm booking one of my mentors, one of my coaches, and we're getting it done, because I don't want my kids to live what I've had to really continually always fight and change. And so when you change a pattern as an individual, if you do have kids or family or loved ones around you, if they look up to you or they get along with you, their patterns will change too.
For
example, I had to learn to like really work on anxiety and fear and panic, but I noticed when I'm really calm, a lot of my friends, a lot of my kids, like everyone else is calm. My husband's calm. But when I'm erratic, it's like, whoa, I can see they're really stressed out. Oh, I better work on that. Yeah.
Happy wife,
Yeah.
is that where that saying came from?
And
Rubs off on everybody else. So it's the energy thing we're talking about. Like when you're
Yeah.
walking, it's the same. Like, yep.
being calm's very, it's infectious. It's infectious. And I think that's the same way, particularly with a lot of things like people that are very meditative and do a lot of meditation, that sort of thing. It's a different feeling to be around them, and it makes you want to, it kind of brings you in as well. Yeah. Taps it in. Yeah. Is there anything that you do commonly yourself to be able to manage yourself and your body and your emotions? Is there like a thing that you do that maybe others can do as well that can help with that and maybe protect it? Yeah.
Well, I go because I go to external people.
Okay, there you go.
So if you guys live in Victoria, there's some amazing network chiropractors. I have a handful of them that I go to depending on how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I learned through years is it is through the body.
Mm.
And if the body can get some relief and stress while you're on the table, you can, well, for me personally, I can actually work out, oh, this is what I'm going through. Oh, okay, bang, bang, bang. Because different parts of my body, the energy is being released and my mind's clearer. So I can make the connections. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of network clarity.
That's really good because often practitioners will forget to do things for themselves.
Yeah, so I would feel too guilty if I didn't have my stuff in order. Because when you understand that you can pass on emotions and energy to another person, if I was to do that to my client, I would hate it. I would cancel clients.
Yeah.
I'm not like up to scratch. I'll be like,
because you want to be your best self for them, and that's your job. Like,
just
so
that transference of energy.
I meditate before every session I have because I'm really aware that whatever energy I have or even ideas or whatever, I don't want to project that onto my client. I want to be more of a vessel.
Yeah.
So I'm not adding to, I don't want them to leave worse than when they came in.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So, and through the body, it's a really good way to release that.
Yeah, I was a little bit baffled with the question before because now I can do it. But if I didn't get all this work from different body workers and didn't educate myself on what was happening to me, now I can bring in a lot of love because my heart was blocked for a long time. And so now prior to sessions, I'll be able to tune in and go, okay, and bring in the energy and open up all my fields. And so I'm very calm and it's really light for the client to be able to, receive that feeling of safety and to be able to release what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can do it because I've been working on myself for so long. But prior to that, I had to go to external people.
So you get a top up every now and then when you need it. So you're not saying you need to do it,
every day. Yeah, that'd be
before every
expensive.
client.
Yeah, that'd be really expensive.
Yeah, so you understand what he meant now. Like, it's like it's something
Yeah.
that you do before clients or at the start of the day or something like that. But yeah, it's beautiful. Like, I love the I still make sure, like, I'm a massage therapist as well as doing the other stuff, and I'll still go get a massage every fortnight, practicing what I preach.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. And if I need some clarity, sometimes I don't want to read or tune in for myself. I want to do it from the outside. Like, I'm getting a tea leaf reading in the morning from one of the person that we had on the show last week, just to try something different and get a different perspective. Another psychic, which is fantastic. So yeah, it's nice to and then we all have our, like, a little recommendations of practitioners that we know and trust, that we would recommend onto others that we might not be able to do something for them, and then you can refer them on to somebody else that you trust within your circle, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that you bring in love. That's another one of those, you talk about words and meanings of words, and because obviously you use words to help get through people's minds. So love, bringing in love, that's an interesting thing to bring in to a session. That's quite a raw, comes from somewhere else, I guess. So something that you store, that you get from somewhere else, love.
When you've been through a lot of trauma and pain, and you know what that feels like, and when you've come across people that have showed you a lot of love and affection, and you know what that feels like,
Yeah.
and how much it's helped you,
Yeah.
being able to connect that back into yourself, and be open to just allowing that feeling, because it's a feeling of warmth. It's a feeling of comfort. That's what the feeling is. And so if you're able to offer that to another person, you can, I have people cry before they enter the clinic.
Wow.
People call me like 15 minutes before going, I don't know, I'm crying already. But like prior to connecting with, you're already connecting with them, like 15 minutes, an hour before session. And so always having that, it allows them to release, feel safe, connecting to a space of warmth. And so that's what I was connecting to prior to coming into your session with podcast. Like I could feel an abundance of like a lot of warmth and good energy. I'm like, all right, stepping into a nice space. But I could feel that coming into your space because I'm entering your space.
Beautiful. Love that.
Well, you've been so welcome, and it's been genuine love that all of the listeners and us have welcomed you onto this show. It's been very educational.
Yeah, I've learned lots.
I hope so.
Oh my gosh. I'm still getting over the fact that there is a part in the body with the past lives are still.
Yeah, you asked a great question. We only learned one, and that was it.
I know.
So too cool.
We could probably do a whole podcast on love as well, so that's okay. But I guess we have to call it a night at some stage.
Yeah, we really appreciate your beautiful energy as well. And thank you for connecting with us and sharing all your beautiful wisdom. It's been really nice. And we're glad to be spokespeople that are helping you get yourself out there a little bit more, so more people can learn about another amazing modality that they might not have thought about or known about, another way. And so people might be thinking of niggly parts in their bodies that have been paining them or giving them grief, and you might just be the person they can come and see to help them release it, which is fantastic.
Oh, thank you both very much for having me.
Beautiful.
You've created a really safe space for me to actually speak, so thank you.
Oh, well, we're so glad you have, because it's going to be great to help people. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And you'll find all the different ways to connect with Mel in the show notes.
Yes, absolutely.
Bye.
Yeah, people will connect. Lovely. Thanks, Mel. Much love. That's it for another episode. Thanks to our sponsor, Subtle Energy Sciences. Click the link in the show notes to access their full product range of quantum healing technology.
And thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. We're so grateful for your contribution to keep this podcast going.
If you'd like to join our Patreon, you can receive bonus full episodes, early release, and monthly readings and meditations.
We love to hear from you, so please comment on our YouTube channel or email us at mickandthepsychic@gmail.com.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist and timeline regression therapist. If you wish to contact me to explore the source of an issue you're facing, just book a session at hernhypnosis.com and include the promo code MATP for 10% off. You can contact me on Insta and Facebook at hernhypnosis.
Check out my website at optimisticxavier.com.au if you feel you'd like to connect with me as a psychic medium, spiritual mentor, or intuitive coach. Include the promo code MATP for 10% discount. You can also find me on Insta, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
We look forward to connecting with you again next time as we attempt to leave no stone unturned.
Bye.
All right, cool. I reckon that should be okay.